Hola estudiantes, this video is going to tell you how to conjugate AR verbs. This is our first step in conjugating regular verbs. All of the verbs that we've learned up until this point have been irregular verbs like tener and gustar and ser. So we're going to start learning how to conjugate regular verbs. So let's talk about some prior knowledge, some things that you already know that are important to conjugating regular verbs. First of all, you should know what an infinitive is. An infinitive is the most basic form of a verb that is not conjugated. Remember, infinitives end in AR, ER, or IR, and in this video we're going to focus on AR verbs, and they're not conjugated, which means that they all start with to in English, like to run or to walk or to talk. Okay, in Spanish they would be things like hablar if it's an AR verb, or comer if it's an ER verb, or escribir if it's an IR verb, because those mean to talk, to eat, and to write. So those are verbs that have not yet been conjugated, which means we haven't put them on the chart yet. The second thing that you need to know is that you use your chart to conjugate, and the forms of the pronouns that we use are going to be the same as what they were when we learned our pronouns and when we learned all of our other verbs. So we're still going to use this chart, the yo form for I, the to form for you familiar, el, ella, usted for he, she, or you formal, nosotros or nosotras for we, vosotros or vosotras for you all, and ellos, ellas, ustedes for they or you all formal. And remember, that's only in Spain that it's formal. Everywhere else they just use this anytime they're saying you all. Okay, so let's talk about what we need to do to conjugate a regular verb. The first thing that we're going to need is an infinitive. Okay, we start with an infinitive, and the first step to conjugating is to get rid of the ending. So here I have my infinitive for hablar, and what I want to do is I want to get rid of my ending. So on hablar, my ending is just the AR part. That's always going to be the ending on our verbs. If it's an AR verb, if it's ER, then it would be the ER. If it's IR, then it would be the IR, but we'll get to that in our next video. So when I get rid of the ending, I'm just going to go ahead and X out the AR part. This part I'm going to keep, the HABL. Okay, I'm going to keep that part. That's called the stem or the root. You can use whatever plant-related vocabulary you like there. This part is called the ending. So on escuchar, what am I going to get rid of on this verb? I'm going to just get rid of the AR. And again, I'm going to be left with the stem or the root, which is escuch. Okay, so we'll need to do more with these in just a second. This is just part one. If it was practicar, again, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to X out my AR, and I'm going to hold on to the stem of the verb, which is practique. And again, I'm going to do something else with this in just a second. So that's step one, is to just get rid of the ending, and for AR verbs, it's just getting rid of the AR at the end. My next step, step two, is to add a new ending. And I do want you to make sure that this chart ends up in your notes, okay, with the new endings. And I'll show you kind of in just a second what we're going to do with these. If my verb is in the yo form, then the ending is going to be o. If it's in the to form, it's as. If it's in the el, ella, usted, it's a. If it's in the nosotros, it's amos. Vosotros is ais. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes is an. So make sure you have a chart in your notes that says o, as, a, amos, ais, an on it. So I'm going to show you right now what to do. What are we adding this to? Well, we're taking step one and combining it together with step two. So if I have a verb like hablar, okay, again, what I'm going to do first is I am going to get rid of my ending. So I'm going to get rid of this AR here. Now, I still want to hold on to the stem or the root or whatever you want to call it here and keep all of those letters. So I'm going to go ahead and write those on my chart. Okay, I'm going to write HABL because that's going to stay. But if I want to say I talk instead of just to talk, I'm going to add my new ending, which is O. So the yo form of hablar is hablo. Okay, so if I wanted to say I talk on the phone, I would say hablo por teléfono. For the to form, again, I'm going to keep my stem, H-A-B-L. I'm going to add my new ending, which is as, A-S. So the to form is hablas. Okay, same thing for the ella usted. I'm going to take my root or my stem, H-A-B-L, and I'm going to add my new ending, which you should have on the chart that you wrote in your notes. And if you're referencing that now, you should know that it's a. So for he or she talks, that would be habla. I could say, for example, mi amiga habla con su madre. My friend talks with her mom. For the nosotros, for the we form, I'm going to keep my root and my stem. I'm going to keep the H-A-B-L. And again, my new ending is amos. A-M-O-S. Sorry, I'm running out of space on my board there. A-M-O-S. Hablamos is we talk. The vosotros form is H-A-B-L, of course. And then my new ending is ice. So A with an accent. I-S. That's y'all talk. So hablais is y'all talk. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes form to say they talk. Keeping my H-A-B-L, I'm going to add my new ending, which is on, A-N, for they talk or you all talk. Okay, so instead of saying just yo hablar, lights in the room went out. There we go. All right, so instead of saying yo hablar, I'm going to say yo hablo, tú hablas, él, ella, usted habla. Okay, this is conjugation. This is just like instead of saying yo tener, you say yo tengo. Instead of saying yo ser, you say yo soy. Okay, so that's what conjugation is all about. Let's try one. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the verb escuchar. Okay, make your chart and pause your video and try to conjugate escuchar on your own right now. Okay, so pause it. And then once you're finished, press play. And I'm going to go ahead and conjugate it. So the yo form, again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of my ending. So I'm going to get rid of my AR. All right, and I'm going to conjugate. So I'm going to add o, as, a, amos, ais, an. So my yo form is going to be escucho, with my O ending there. My to form is going to be escuchas. Oops. Escuchas. My él, ella, usted form is going to be escucha. Okay, this time I'm keeping the escuch instead of the habla from hablar. The nosotros for we listen is going to be escuchamos. I need more room for my nosotros forms. Escuchamos. Okay, the vosotros form is escucháis. So I'm keeping my escuch. It's actually probably faster if you just write the beginning part on all of them, but I didn't think of that until now. Escucháis, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes is escuchan. E-S-C-U-C-H I'm keeping, and then I'm adding my new ending, which is A-N. So I have escucho, escuchas, escucha, escuchamos, escucháis, escuchan. I listen, you listen, he or she listens, we listen, y'all listen, they listen. All right, so hopefully that feels a little bit easy to you. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do 2 more practice verbs in your notes for tonight. One is going to be practicar. Okay, everybody's going to do practicar. And then what you're going to do is you're going to think of any other AR infinitive except jugar. Don't do jugar. We'll talk about that one tomorrow or in the near future because jugar has some special things about it. Okay, so you could do contestar, you could do mirar, you could do andar, montar, a lot of verbs. We've got some in this chapter, some from last chapter. Okay, so everybody's going to do a practicard chart, and then you get to pick your second verb. Okay, so for the next class, please make sure that you have those 2 verbs conjugated and ready to go in your notes. As always, you can email me if you have any questions, and thanks for listening. Adios.